Also, I don't know what those trees are, even though I do because I've been around this place far too often. Okay, first of all, grapes grow on vines. Secondly, those are mulberry trees.
コアコアっつうのはブドウの仲
Are they? Not that I know of. Why are you so caught up on grapes right now?
間だって山梨だよ
What's that supposed to mean? Okay, try not to talk about as though Yamasashi's got nothing but grapes to offer the world. The good people of Koshu will give you a swift boot to the rear.
なんでだよじゃあブドウ以外何があんのよさ
I'm sure there's a lot more than just grapes. Peaches?
パパこそ甲州人にぶっ飛ばされんぞ
Not like peaches? Wait, no! There's also Hoto soup and those rice cakes with black honey and, oh, don't mess with the valley, okay?
別に舐めちゃいないしブドウも桃も大好きなのよ岡山とキャラかぶってんけどな
Freaking Makina like talking shit. Did you really have to say that last part? Such a cheeky little brat. Who'd you get that chutzpah from anyway?
多分パパに似たんだと思うんだぜ
It's like, it's from you, dude. Oh, right. Well, anyway, that's a mulberry tree. Food for your Bombix Mori.
また知らん言葉が出てきた誰だよおかいこさん
I'm just as curious as Makina is. What, you don't know about silkworm moths? You farm the larvae and make silk from their cocoons. The industry's been around forever, you know.
絹ってガの幼虫が作ってんの
Well, I knew that, but I just didn't know that other, well, you know. Yeah, it's a natural fiber. You didn't know that either? God.
クジラのヒゲからバイオリンの弓みたいな感じ
Wrong on all sorts of levels, but the strange thing is I can actually understand what you're trying to say somehow.
ちょっと見てきていい
That's just looking is fine, but don't start picking off the fruit. You got that? Also, you got to put your hat on first.
分かってる
And boop. With that, Makina just darts off into the blazing sun, flapping her outstretched arms like a bird as she rushes over toward the mulberry field. Thanks to her diminutive frame, she looks like a young child heading off to play. The girl shows interests in everything and anything she encounters. When she runs into something she doesn't understand, she immediately asks why. In return, I offer what answers I can from my own experience and knowledge. When that fails me, we think it over together. Sometimes hearing Makina's perspective leads me to new insights of my own. I guess this might be what people mean when they say teaching someone means learning from them in return. Come to think of it, it was my own instructor who told me that. The person who taught me everything and made me want to learn in the first place. Not a parent or a teacher. So I look up at the sky. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold on, I can do this. Kusukabe Asako. Got him! My master, the woman who single-handedly built me up from nothing. Better or worse, I'm at least 80% the person she made me. She found a whelp crawling along the bottom of the valley of despair, reached down her hand and pulled it up into the world of humans. For Asako, picking me up might have been an afterthought, an impulsive spur-of-the-moment decision, not much more than a whim. Even so, if I hadn't met her, I wouldn't be what I am today. I probably would have given up on life outright a long time ago. But Asuko was there, on that day, in that moment. She took me by the hand. Thanks to her and the people around her, primarily a certain aggravating shaggy-headed blonde, I'm standing here today. I'm still living, carrying the final words she left in my heart. What was the point of keeping a piece of trash like me alive? Everything's got a reason. I want an answer to that question. That, more than anything else, is what keeps me going. So, Makina, sorry, I was in deep thought about serious stuff. What's up? Yeah, what's up?
桑畑見てきたなんかすっげーいっぱいカミキリムシがいた
Oh, crap. Are those dung beetles, or what? Wait a second. What are you eating?
スイカだよほら あそこに農夫のおばあちゃんがいるじゃんね。あの人にもらったずら。
Okay, as long as you're not just eating it because you picked it off somewhere, you know. Okay, you put a finger in your mouth and stared at the melon with the big wistful eyes, didn't you? Please tell me you at least said thank you.
当たり前じゃんけ。ちゃんとお礼言ったずらよ。
She's like, who the fuck do you think I am? Weh. She's already picked up on some weird snatches of Kaosu dialect just from talking with a local for like a few minutes. The girl sure adapts quickly. Nah, maybe her brain's just pliable as a piece of putty. I stand beside Makina and bow deeply to the kind farmer. Alright then, seems like we're more than hydrated enough. Well, I think it's time to get back on the road.
おう、ワニワニしとらんでちゃっちゃと行けし。
On the road again. You know your dialect's a little off there. I was like, it's just Makina. Seems like the field artillery's practicing today. When my ears begin to pick up the air-shaking thunder of the guns in the distance, it feels like we finally entered the Yamanashi, I know. Among the vehicles we pass on the road, squat medium trucks and high mobile vehicles painted khaki grow increasingly common. At one point, I make eye contact with the commander sticking his head out of the cupola and on a passing Type 96, and have to restrain the impulse to salute. 'Cause that's me. I have to say, Makina, for someone who's supposedly so shy around strangers, you're kind of sociable. Although Irisu Makina has firmly established her position as the shy girl at Mihama Academy, from what I've seen, this reputation seems somewhat overblown. In fact, just the other day I witnessed her imputingly songing chestnut candy off some old couple on a bench outside a sweet shop in the shopping district.
失敬なのよさ。それじゃあまるで正常な判断能力を喪失した老人を対象にして文字通り私服を肥やす悪人みたいなのよさ。
Well, you did do that. I'm not saying not facts here. Well, you did in fact proceed to munch away at the chestnuts with a dopey look of bliss on your face. There might have been some sort of snorting or snuffling involved.
そりゃ食ってたよ。食ってたけれども、だって食べるって聞かれたからうんって言っただけなのよさ。別にこっちから要求を提示したわけじゃないのよ。
I feel like you just kind of guilt tripped them into giving you those, but just throwing that out there. Right, so my question is, how exactly are you supposed to be shy again?
もう、私だって別に誰でも声かけるわけじゃないのよ。ちゃんと人を選んでるっていうか。
Like, she had to warm up to us, man. Come to think of it, it does seem like you're always targeting kind, old-looking older people.
だからその言い方おかしくない？まあ確かにそうなんだけれども。
Can you not use the targeting word? So I guess elderly people don't seem to be so scary? Is that it?
怖くないというか、馴染み深いというか。私はほら、6年も病院にいたわけで、その間ずっと死にかけのじいさま連中に相手をしてもらってたから、じいさんを見る目はあるのよ。
Yeah, but I bet those half-dead geezers were the greatest friends of your life at that point. What? So what? Because she spent all the time surrounded by geezers, she never had a chance to pick up the niceties of interacting with people her age, making it awkward to approach them, I guess?
この世の中には2種類の老人がいます。これまでの人生であまたの三冠をかみ、物事に動じない穏やかな老生を手に入れた老人と、自分の経験してきたことが全てであり、その価値観や考えに反するものを悪と断じて恥じない頭の凝り固まった老人。
You damn kids! Get off my lawn!
人は前者を高校野と呼び、後者を老害というそうですが、何せ6年も病院にいたせいで、じじいの良し悪しを嗅ぎ分ける嗅覚には他の被験を許さないほどに卓越したものがあるとの自負があるのよさ。
Were there a lot of old, the old bad geezers that in the hospital? I see.
ちなみに当時の会話が不自由だった私に日本語を教えてくれたのも病院の死にかけどもだったのよさ。
Well, I always thought you had something of the crotchety senior citizen about you. I guess that might explain why you sound so much like an old man sometimes. Yup.
じじい臭さじゃパパも相当なもんなのよ。私がパパに懐いた理由だってなんかじじむさい人だなって思ったのがきっかけだったしな。
A grandpa? Well, I do get you don't act much like a kid pretty frequently, but this is a first.
なんつんだろ、じじむさいっていうか妙に落ち着いてるし自分の中にピンと一本ぶれない筋が通ってるっていうか、何？武士？若武者？なんかそんな風に感じたのよさ。
Oh, I like that. Definitely a young warrior. Now that you mention it, there was this one time JB saw me repairing my tools on the weekend and said, "You look like a Ronin making umbrellas."
近い近い、なんかそんな感じ。
See, you got it! True enough, I never disliked jobs that call for a steady accumulation of sober effort, but I can't say I was expecting a comparison to a masterless swordsman living austerely off his handicrafts. So I look up at the sky. About 2.5 hours have passed since our departure from the dorm. We've reached an area I know by sight. No longer even bothering to check the map, I doggedly ride up familiar mountain roads toward our destination. The path begins to narrow steadily. It's still paved, fortunately, but soon it's thin enough to deserve the description of farm road. If a car were to come in the opposite direction, we wouldn't be able to pass each other by. Ooh, that's scary. That said, the odds of us running into traffic are pretty much zero. At this point, all that's ahead of us is one lonely cell phone tower and an iron gate guarding the entrance to an obscure national forest. The only people we could run into up here would be maintenance workers for the telecom company, or tourists who took a few wrong turns, I suppose. Bobataro labors up the final stretch of the road, straining to carry his 2 passengers up the 15-degree slope, 26 at its worst. His tappets clack beneath us in a constant chorus of complaint. And finally, after passing 3 sets of faded signboards, reading authorized personnel only beyond this point, set some 100 meters apart, the iron gate we're looking for comes into view. We're here, Makina. Dupes. Makina spreads her legs wide open to push herself off the tandem seat, lowering herself to the ground in less than a refined fashion. Makina, your ass isn't bleeding. The girl rubs her tender rear end through her skirt, twirling around like a dog chasing its own tail. Turning my back on her, I insert my key into the padlock on the hefty iron gate. I was gonna say, I own this shit. Well, it's technically the country's mountain. My master and I lived in the cabin up here, managing the land. Does it exist anymore? Let's see, guess it's a 30-minute walk from here? Oh, okay. You fucking what, mate? I'd like to ride up there myself, but I don't think Babataro would handle the rocky slope all too well. Beyond the open gate, a coarse gravel road continues into the mountain, slanting sharply upward at a good 30 degrees or so. Unless you're driving a 4WD Jeep or dirt bike with off-road tires, getting a vehicle up this would be pretty tricky. Amine's Babataro is a good road bike, poorly suited to mountain trails to begin with, and given the ridiculous lowrider remodeling, it'd clearly get its belly stuck in the dirt before climbing 10 meters. Think of it as extra training and or exercise. No, it's only steep by the entrance. After 30 meters or so, the slope gets a lot more gentle. I kill Babataro's engine, then sling Makina's rucksack over my left shoulder, leaving our friend sitting in first gear in the middle of the road. The two of us step past the gate. Oh, I can't wait to see some backgrounds here. Other than just... Ooh. I like that. Things haven't changed much in my absence from the mountain. As always, the air's thick with the lusty cries of cicadas, and there's no sign of a human presence. Other than the squawking insects, the only sounds are the crunching of our feet against the gravel and weeds, and Makina's labored breathing, growing quicker and louder with every minute. You alright over there?
平気まだ大丈夫
Makina's a tough soldier. She'll get through this. The girl can be surprisingly stubborn at times like these. Probably in an attempt to demonstrate she's not a helpless weakling who needs to be babied constantly. Still, I have to be sure to keep an eye on her, though, or she might end up collapsing to the ground and falling asleep on the spot.
ねえパパ聞いてもいい
Sure, why not? I don't have a cool problem. About what?
これからお墓参りする人パパの師匠ってどんな人
Oh, now that's that. I could talk about that for ages. Where do I even begin? Come to think of it, although I've brought Asako up numerous times, I don't remember giving any details. I mean, nobody really seemed that interested. I guess it was just too awkward to ask. My master's name was... Oh, god damn it. Kasukabe. There we go! Asako. We first met when I was 12 or 13 or something. She was a lot older than me, obviously. I'd lost my entire family a while before this. At the time, a friend of my dad's had taken me in, but... Well, that family friend was what you'd call a bad guy. The kind of man who slips through the cracks in the law, profiting off misery and tearing money away from soft-hearted people. The bad guy in question made some enemies on the shadier side of the government. Bit off a little more than he could chew. They decided to bring the hammer down. Like Reinhardt, and the small assault force that invaded the villain's lair, well, mansion, and suppressed it in the blink of an eye was led by my master, Kasukabe Asako.
つまり子供の頃のパパを悪者から救い出してくれたのがその師匠なのね
God, it's all coming up Millhouse right now, like full circle. Yeah, that's a basic outline.
それからはずっと師匠と一緒にここで暮らしたの
Not constantly. We lived here for the first year or so, but I ended up getting shipped off to America fairly soon because of some circumstances with Asako's employer.
カリフォルニアのサンディエゴな
Ah, you're a smart one. Good memory.
その後はバージニアのクアンティコで結局また日本に帰ってきたのよね
That's right. And in between all that, I lived with Asako. She's the one who helped me find the strength I needed to live.
つまり今の私にとってのパパみたいにパパにとっては師匠はママみたいなものだったのね
Oh, something like that. Don't think mommy quite covers it. If I had to categorize the woman, I'd say she was my master. But in the sense that she raised a cowardly, snot-nosed brat into a reasonably competent man, I guess you could say she was something like a mother. Kasukabe Asako was the only person I've ever called master, and the only person I ever will. I was nothing but a filthy little cockroach she happened to carry home from her job one night. We weren't related. She had no obligation to do anything but flush me down the toilet, and instead she spent the rest of her life raising me. The woman was a force of nature, infallible and unshakable. Even if she's gone, Kasukabe Asako will always be the strongest woman in the world for me. Damn. Just as I estimated, about 30 minutes of trudging along up through the mountain forest around us begins to thin, and the rough dirt trail grows gentle in slope. As we reach an even plot of land that seems to have been cut neatly out of a natural plateau, a single log cabin comes into view beyond a chained-up metal gate. Oh. Alright, Makina, we're here.
疲れた暑くて死ぬここがパパの実家
See, even when she's about to die, she's asking questions. Grew up in... Well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, this is the house where I was raised. It's only been 2 months or so since I left, but the cabin's already under siege by thick wild grasses. The sight inspires a small twinge of melancholy. I'm tempted to start attacking those weeds right away, but I guess we should go in and rest for a while first.
いやーね、女の子を家に連れ込んで何する気？うふふ。
Makina! Don't be blushing. Don't tee-hee-hee me, kid. Now I have to call up Amine and give her yet another scolding. Removing my keyring from the carabiner. Did I say carabiner? God damn it. Wait, is that how you say it? Or carabiner? Carabiner or biner? I've been using to fasten it into my belt. I select an old-fashioned key with a dull golden color. Push it into the equally old-fashioned keyhole on the oil-finished teak wood door brain, and give it 1 rotation to the left. Ooh, it's nice. The interior of the cabin, naturally enough, hasn't changed at all since the months since I last saw it. Even after I left, I'm pretty confident JB kept up the melodramatic habit of dropping by for a solitary drink in memory of the departed. But although she's surprisingly averse to cleaning for someone with such an anal personality, it seems she wasn't quite lazy enough to leave her crumpled cans and potato chip wrappers lying around the place.
ここがパパの育ったお家か。なんていうか、思ってたより物が多いのね。ちゃんとテレビもあるし。
Well, it's not like I was living on my own. Only partially paying attention to the conversation, I wander over to the fridge and reach for the handle. Still cold. Guess electricity's still flowing. Want something to drink? Might have been a hasty offer. Nothing but beer and smoked cheese, huh? Naturally enough, I emptied out the fridge before leaving this cabin behind. What little we do have is clearly just leftovers from JB's visits. Other than the booze and snacks, there's also 3 bottles of my favorite eye drops sitting on the lower shelf. Probably the woman's attempt at a thoughtful gesture, in case I decide to return at some point. I retrieve 1 bottle of eye drops from the fridge and glance over at Makina. Here goes, something to drink. Hey, Makina.
Huh?
Catch.
何これ？目薬？
Does she really need those, though? A sniper's eyes are their life. Give that a try. If you apply some to both eyes 30 minutes before shooting and stretch your collar muscles, your focusing speed changes pretty dramatically.
はあ？どれどれ？
She's just gonna do it right now. Gazing curiously at the bottle in her hand, Makina carefully breaks the seal, then leans her head back with mouth slightly ajar to apply the drops. 1 drop per eye. No need to blink too much either. Give it a second, then start slowly moving your eyes in figure 8s. As her eyeballs begin to move back and forth underneath her lids, Makina's upper body sways along with them. Slowly open your eyes. Alternate between looking at something nearby and something far away. Helps get you focusing properly.
手元を見て、遠くを見る。
That's all there is to it. Just repeat this 4 times a day. Morning, noon, evening, and before you go to bed. You still listening?
ね、パパ。あの写真って。
Oh, do we get to see this photo? Makina's eyes, after focusing on at a random distant object, have stopped darting back and forth. She's staring at the middle of the small bookshelf, where a single photograph of Asako and me as a kid stand in the frame. When I left this cabin behind, I deliberately flipped it face down in an attempt at a symbolic closure, but now it's been returned to its original position. Damn it, JB, mind your own goddamn business.
あの写真の人が師匠の人？
Yeah, that's right. I reach out and take the frame from the bookshelf. This is the one and only photograph of Asako remaining in this world. It was taken not long after she first took me in. The day she dragged me off to the zoo in Ueno on what seemed like a whim. Not really a photograph I want to show off, but I pass over the frame to Makina, who proceeds to intently contemplate the photo inside. Asako's glowers at the camera, eyebrows furrowed in clear irritation. At her side, a younger me stares coldly at nothing in particular, eyes clouded but glittering with a venomous sheen. I've got a pretty awful look on my face, right? At the time, I was just completely empty. Didn't give a damn about anyone or anything. Pretty much just a dead kid at that point. Dead kid that forgot to stop breathing. I guess Asako got so fed up watching me that she decided to try her hand at babysitting. Not exactly her field of expertise, you understand?
何があったの?
Oh, we about to get some deep shit here in a second? It's a long story, but the abbreviated version is that my whole family died, and I was deeply involved in their deaths. I was responsible, so I couldn't just push the blame on someone else. That self-loathing was probably just too much for me to deal with. Wrapped myself up in a shell instead.
そっか。
But how? Why? But thanks to Asako, I managed to get back on my feet somehow. She gave me, if not a reason to live, then at least an excuse not to die. I might seem almost too vigorous these days, but if I hadn't met Asako, if Asako hadn't taken me in, might have died a long time ago.
命の恩人?
Yeah. Then she went and died before I had a chance to repay the debt. Unbelievable, right? This is getting real sad, and I'm feeling it in my bones.
悲しいね.
Real sad. That's not how I felt about it, actually. I didn't really mourn when Asako passed. I've been prepared for the possibility she might die at any time, but for some reason I still had a hard time believing she was actually gone. I guess there was a part of me that couldn't accept that monster of a woman was really dead. If there was one word that described Asako, it was ridiculous. Not a shred of common sense in her body. She was a bull of a woman, and the world was her personal china shop. And to me, she was something like a god. Or a devil. Probably both.
悪鬼とか神とか、なんか、とにかくすごい人だったのね。
Okay, here's a story. This actually happened the same day the picture was taken. I was just sitting around, wallowing in self-hatred, as I tended to do, holding a private pity party, honestly. As if that was going to make up for anything. All of a sudden, Asago grabs me by the hand and drags me off to the zoo. She showed me all these animals I'd never seen before. Elephants, giraffes, zebras, the whole shebang. Probably hoping to get at least some sort of minor sign of interest out of me. But, well, I was really acting like a brat back then. I mean, I actually was a brat, but still, I kept myself inside that shell, not even twitching an eyebrow at anything she showed me. And I guess that attitude got Asako pretty irritable after a while. So the two of us are just standing there, staring at the lions in complete silence, when all of a sudden this one big guy opens his mouth wide and tries to scare us off with a giant roar. And the next thing I know, Asako's bellowing, "Shut the hell up! Don't growl at me, asshole! I'll fucking kill you!" So yeah, she was the sort of person who'd get into shouting contests with the King of Beasts and win. The woman was crazy.
すげー.
I hope at some point throughout the games we actually get to see her, like at least in a flashback or something. Because that's the whole, I've wanted to see her this whole time, you know, what she looks like, and, like, actually see a scene play out with her. That'd be pretty fucking cool, I think. But I don't know. You guys know. I don't. I mean, her opponent was locked up in a cage. Anyone would have yelled at them if they wanted to. But I'm fairly sure she would have yelled at it anyway. But when Asako screamed in his face, the animal actually flinched, then just backed away slowly. You should have seen the look on his face. So there I was, gawking up at her with my eyes wide open, thinking this woman's a complete lunatic, when I noticed I was smiling. Guess that was the moment when I started slowly regaining halfway normal emotions.
そのおかげで私もパパと出会えたんだから、私も感謝するべきだよね.
Well, I don't know about that. Who says meeting me was really a good thing? Hard to know for sure yet, don't you think?
そうかもしんないけどさ、でも少なくとも私の人生に一番大きく影響しているのってパパなんじゃないかな。
Well, yes, but luckily I'm not the only influence in your life. When you put it like that, I feel a little weight on my shoulders. Hey, Asako, I feel the same way as Makina. I remember what you told me just before you died. Sorry, Yuji. Ran my big mouth about teaching you how to live, but training you to do an ugly job in the shadows was the best I could manage. Maybe so, but I'm still grateful to you. Because even now, your words are what keep me stumbling around forward. Ooh, where am I going? Okay. Without intending to do so, I ended up on a fairly lengthy discussion about my past. Among many mixed emotions, a small flush of embarrassment rose to the surface. In an effort to hide this, I abruptly declared break time over, then led Makina around the shed to the shed out back. Although we always called it a shed, the building itself is pretty impressive. Not that different from the main cabin in size. It's a storehouse packed full of all the tools and provisions necessary to live up here. I pulled Makina along into the storehouse, seeking out weapons with which to confront the well-entrenched hordes of weeds that have flourished in the summer heat. Specifically, we retrieve a few hand scythes and spades, an old lawnmower, and a pair of straw hats hanging from nails on the wall. A good straw hat with a wide brim is indispensable for weeding under the blazing sun. I put on the hat Asako used when she was alive, then dropped the smaller one I wore as a child onto Makina's head. Can we see that? It takes us another 5 minutes of climbing up the mountain to reach Asako's grave, not far from the summit. Her gravestone stands in a spot affording an unbroken view of the basin below. While the location may be good, the gravestone itself is hardly worthy of the name. It's just a huge, fairly decent-looking rock picked at random from the woods, then half buried in the ground to keep it erect. In fact, the rough surface of the stone doesn't even have her name chiseled into it. It's a crude marker and nothing else. Even so, there's no doubt that Asako's remains are resting here. I was the one who took the ashes from the funeral home and buried them, and I was the one who raised the gravestone above them. When it came to religion, Asako's official position was no policy. She used to half-joke about it. If I croak, just bury me wherever. I won't complain as long as you burn me up first. You can just poke a popsicle stick in the ground for all she cared. Left with these half-assed instructions to work off after Asako's death, JB arranged for the cremation, then agreed to leave the rest entirely to me. I was at a complete loss for a while, but in the end decided to make the mountain where we'd live together her final resting place. Nobody criticized my choice. Remote and lonely as it may seem, Asako never had a family to begin with, and her best friend JB had no complaints about my decision. But since I was the one who chose this place, the duty of maintaining it also rests with me. Ooh. Starting the engine of the lawnmower I pushed up here from the shed, I have Makina hang back while I mow down the weeds in one sweep. When that's done, I switch to my spade and quietly begin digging away at the stubborn roots. Makina follows behind as I steadily work my way around the clearing. As I hack down the weeds and pull them out of the earth, she picks them up and collects them in heavy-duty trash bags. It's ridiculously hot, dirty, and monotonous work. Not a fun job in any way, shape, or form. But Makina holds out surprisingly well, not complaining even once as we fight our way through the overgrown wild grasses. Well, see, I don't think she would. We keep it up for maybe 2 hours, covered in sweat and grime. It feels even longer than that. By the time I finally sit down to stretch out my aching back, having fully liberated Asako's gravestone from the summer weeds that had nearly engulfed it, we filled 8 of our 70-liter trash bags to the brim. Damn. Whew. Well, that's good enough. I slowly raised my tired body off the ground, then turned around to look at Makina in her dirt-smeared face. Looking at the girl biting her lower lip with something uncertain in her eyes, I realized I've been hacking away at the weeds in total silence all the time. She may have been struggling along beside me in an attempt to be considerate. Slightly touched, I speak to her in the gentlest tone of voice I can manage. You tired? Let's call it a day. Taking the towel I'd wrapped around my neck for protection against the sun, I wiped the dirt from her face. Apparently understanding from the gesture that I finished this simple greeting to my departed friend, Makina's formerly tense face loosens into a dopey, ticklish smile. I want to see her with the hat. I want to see both of us with the hat. By the time the colors of the evening fill the sky, we put away our tools and return to the grave. I light a bundle of wooden chopsticks resting on a plate from the cabin's kitchen. A small welcoming fire for Asako's spirit. Since Asako loved her drink, I also brought a can of beer from the fridge. Popping it open, I set it upside down on the top of the gravestone and let the contents pour out. Is it weird that I'm tearing up right now? Like honestly, this game I don't know. It just what's happening right now is just it's a touching moment, and it makes me tear. The thin fluttering flame and its column of smoke are the signal beacon. The beer's the bait to make sure she doesn't hesitate to drop by. I close my eyes and press my hands together. A moment later, I can hear Makina do the same. Hey, Asako, I'm still dragging my sorry hide around, trying to figure out why you kept me alive. No luck on that front. But even so, I think there are a few things I'm starting to understand, little by little. The things I can do, things only I can do, the things I have to do, and the things I want to do. Tell me something, Asako. Was this how it was for you as well? Did it start off just as a whim, taking me in like that? Even so, did the small presence at your side end up becoming your reason to live? I'm starting to feel like I can understand now. Not that it's that complicated, really. You just saw a face one day, and somehow you just vaguely knew it was the one thing in the world you needed to protect. Am I right? All of a sudden you're telling yourself, now I get it. Maybe I've been living all this time so I can be here for this, to protect this one thing. This is Arisu Makina. I speak out loud to the wavering flame, introducing Makina to Asako's grave. See, look at that. I found something I want to protect as well. Just as you had your doubts back then, I don't know if I'm making the right decisions. And I understand that things never go as smoothly as planned. Hamine and I, currently playing the roles of mommy and daddy, probably do possess broader experience and knowledge than Makina. And we like to think that we understand her to some degree. But even so, I can't say with any confidence that the well-intentioned advice we give her is necessarily worthwhile. In separating the right from wrong, there's only one decision that won't lead to regret. The one Makina makes herself. Right now, she says she wants to be a baker or a sniper. But whatever road she chooses to follow, the decision ultimately has to be up to her. You told me something about this once, right? If you want to choose the better path, listen carefully to the people who've walked the trail before you. As many of them as you can find. Fortunately enough, Makina's still very young. She'll have the chance to hear many people's thoughts, and I think she should actively seek them out. There's a limit to the amount of information any one human being can directly obtain. Don't get caught up with the things in front of your nose. Keep trying for the big picture perspective, and you won't go wrong too often. Right, Asako? Hey, Makina, want to say a little something to Asako as well? Still clasping her hands together and keeping her eyes shut, Makina quietly opens her mouth to speak. That got me. If it wasn't for you, I don't think Papa and I would have met, so thank you. Makina's softly mumbled words hit me harder than I expected. Me too, man. Asako, you moved on and left me behind. You did enough. You accomplished your job, the job you were here to do. That's why you were allowed to die. I haven't earned that right yet, but I'll get there someday. I know I will. Think you can wait for me until then? The gravestone offers no reply to my silent question. I know perfectly well that this entire ceremony is nothing but a way for those left behind to find something like comfort, but I could still feel heat spreading behind my eyelids. Alright, no, let me just wipe away these tears real quick. Alright, I'm hungry. Why?
飯にしよう
Taking the plate in one hand as our small fire begins to gutter out, then seizing Makina's small hand in the other, I set off down the rough trail leading back to the cabin. We're gonna spend the night in this cabin. Yeah? Oh, Jesus. We might spend the whole time here. Who knows? As twilight gives way to darkness, I twist open the propane stopcock, then leave the bathwater to heat as I begin preparing dinner. But of course, the fridge is a barren wasteland, and the vegetable garden out behind the shed has been running wild with weeds. Our only viable provisions at the moment would be the stores of vacuum-packed instant rice and canned salmon piled up in the shed. Still, I don't have a problem with that. Can't manage much other than gruel or fried rice with this.
あとキッチンの流しの下からパスタが出てきたのよさ
You found some pasta! Fucking, we're having a feast tonight! Pasta? Oh, those are actually straight ramen noodles. Completely forgot about that stuff. The packages Makina misidentified as pasta contained long strands of dried instant ramen noodles. We used to have these stashed all over the place, and the Hakata pork bones flavor in particular was one of Asako's favorite foods. After a few beers, she'd almost always devour a bowl of ramen heaping with vegetables. Ugh. My nose. After the tears and the crying. That brings me back. Asako used to make these for me all the time when she got drunk. Normally you're supposed to boil these for like 3 minutes, but Asako opted for a 60-second stir-fry pan in the pan. She'd focused mainly on eating the toppings, picking out a well-simmered noodle every once in a while. Makina, you haven't tried these before, have you? Wanna have some? We fucking eat these. That said, we've got nothing in the way of toppings. Can't hope to imitate the Asako-style tower of fried bean sprouts and cabbage doused in vegetable oil. Fortunately enough, we do discover dry chives and roasted sesame seeds underneath the sink, if not red pickled ginger or strips of pork. It's little more than plain ramen, but in combination with the fried rice, we've at least got a somewhat respectable looking meal on our table in 15 minutes. Rather than dinner, it does seem a little more like an oversized midnight snack, but perhaps owing to Omne's strong anti-instant ideological leanings, Makina seems to find some novelty value in the meal. She gobbles down the ramen in the blink of an eye, repeatedly yelping, "Delicious!" So I look up at the sky. It's fucking beautiful. By the time we finish this somewhat rough supper, the hour hand on the clock's turned past 8. Returning to Mihama at this hour would be far too much of a problem. And more than anything else, I'm concerned about the danger Makina might fall asleep in the back seat and slip right off, and that would not be a good juju. All things considered, it'd clearly be for the best to set up camp in the cabin for tonight and then make our way back tomorrow morning. Logical, yes. Her belly's full. Makina's already begun to mumble incoherently on the verge of sleep. I haul her to her feet and unceremoniously strip off her clothes. Alright, then launch her into the bath with a kick of the rear, tossing her dirty outfit into the beat-up old washer/dryer just outside the bathroom door. You still awake in there? God, I hope so! As I'm transferring her wet clothes to the drier half of the machine, I call out to Makina for the 3rd time in the last 10 minutes. Last thing I need is this girl falling asleep in the tub and drowning herself. Okay, good. I don't want no dead Makina in the bathtub. If I straighten my ears, I can make out the sound of Makina splashing around and washing her body. Sorry, my nose, it's still fucking up. As well as her cheerful rendition of Tuna Fish Man's theme song, which mainly involves yowling, "My girl, man, fighting for justice," repeatedly in a jumble of English and Japanese. But seriously, is that ghastly human tuna hybrid really supposed to be a superhero? Yes. Just seeing the character without any context, I'm pretty sure I would have pegged him as a hideous monster of the week rather than a protagonist. But then again, the world's a place of constant change. Maybe the children of the world have an acquired taste for the avant-garde of in their Saturday morning entertainment. Either way, it seems I've still got a lot to learn. When Makina gets out of the bath, I wrap a white towel snugly around her head and twist it back and forth until her head's dry. Then slip an old Oxford shirt from my days as a student in America onto her as a temporary substitute for clothes. Naked except for a long-sleeved man's dress shirt several sizes too large, Makina begins loosely bending her waist back and forth like a patient suffering amniotic dysentery, then coos ooh la la in a high-pitched tone.
私セクシー
Makina, where's your shirt? I put one on you just now. Alright, wait here. I'll get a dictionary so you can take a careful look at the definition of the word sexy.
ちっとぐれ納札されたふりしてくれてもバチは当たんないと思うのよ
Your way, you can't woo me, woman. Whatever my faults, I pride myself on my sincerity toward women. And we have that in spades. Before her bath, Makina's eyelids seem to have grown about as heavy as lead, but the hot water seems to have given her something of a second wind. It takes a little doing to get her to crammed into bed. Although she nods off easily enough in the middle of the day, the girl also has a bad habit of refusing to fall asleep when you actually want her to. Normally I could leave this to Amine, but that's not an option. Fortunately, no matter how much Makina grumbles about not being able to being sleepy yet, when I forcibly scoop her up, she always ceases to struggle and wraps her arms around my neck. Basically, the girl's just scared of going to bed alone. After that, it's a simple matter of depositing her in a bed and holding her hand for 30 minutes or so until she falls asleep in earnest. When I lift Makina's small body in my arms, I am struck by the scent of a familiar shampoo, mingling with the subtlety feminine smell of her skin. It reminds me so strongly of Asako that I actually start a little in surprise.
ねパパこの前のお話の続きをして
Which one was I telling you again?
ねパパがアメリカに住んでた頃の話で友達と賭けをして180メートル先の標的に当てたってやつ
What again? I already told you that one 3 times.
もう一回聞きたいよあとみんなでハイキングに行った時の社会15センチの話も聞きたい
You really like this stuff for some reason, don't you? I'm not sure why she finds this sort of thing interesting, but Makina's burning to hear my stories lately. The flower pot, the cat, and the severed head. His name was Ryback, Unlucky, Zippo. Where's the telephone? Atu Island. From among this fairly well-varied assortment of anecdotes, there's one in particular that's clearly become the girl's favorite. Specifically, 180 meters from scrubbing the John. Alright, so this was back when I was 14 years old, attending Uncle Sam's school in America. One day I ended up making a bet with a classmate. Oh, I've been distinguishing myself as a sniper at the time, and this particular classmate kept coming at me with this stupid line, "What's with the rifle specialty? Isn't your name Uzi?" Not only did I not fight back, I didn't show the slightest sign of irritation at the stupid joke, which eventually pissed my classmate off pretty badly. They ended up challenging me to a bet, hoping to knock me down a peg. The bet itself was about as simple as they come. I had to land a shot on a can of tomatoes from 200 yards. It sounded pretty damn pointless, so I refused to play along at first. But when my classmate offered to take over a week's worth of laundry duty if I won, my perspective on the matter changed. After managing to bargain my way up to 3 shots, I ultimately accepted the bet. But there was one major problem: the rifle I had to use. At the time, I didn't have the authorization to use anything but the small bore and its .22 caliber rifle, rounds. So inevitably, the gun I was using for this bet was just a .22 LR bolt-action rifle. Normally speaking, you want to be firing a small bore rifle at 25 to 50 meters. The bullet itself can travel a good 1600, but the effective range normally maxes out at less than 100. Not only was I using this thing for a shot from 200 yards or slightly over 182 meters, it was taking place outside where I'd have to deal with the wind. Felt like pretty shitty odds, but on the second round I managed a solid hit. Naturally, that meant I was the winner of our bet, but unfortunately, one of the instructors found out I'd been taking the rifle without permission, so instead of laundry-free week of leisure, I ended up ordered to scrub latrines until shit smelt like daisies. Is she asleep? But apparently the tomato can I shot is still enshrined in the school cafeteria, along with photographic evidence. I'm not trying to get all nostalgic about my young, wild youth, but whatever. But I can't help but smile at a little Riley, more at my inability to tell Makina a halfway decent bedtime story than anything else. But when I finally snapped back to reality, I realized that Makina has closed her eyes and began mumbling in her sleep. Alright. The lengthy trip and weeding in the sun must have tired her out after all. Feeling more than a little relieved, I quietly leave the cabin with my cell phone in hand. Although there is a tower relatively close by, the signal's not really that good inside the cabin itself. I walk off a little ways until the meter at the top of the screen displays 3 bars. Then call up the contacts list and select Komine Sachi's name. After about 3 rings, she picks up the phone and instantly, not even bothering to say hello, begins hurling questions at me.
風見さんですか？今どちらにおられるのです？先ほどから何度かお電話をさせていただいていたのですが。
Everything's fine, Sachi. Sorry, the reception's not that great out here.
帰りが遅いので皆さん心配しておられます。何時頃にお戻りになられますか？
Right, about that. We're actually still in Yamanashi. Makina's already fallen asleep, so for tonight we're gonna stay out here, then head back tomorrow around noon.
お泊まりですね。
Is there a problem? Sorry for the trouble, but would you mind looking after Makina's crawfish and apple seedling while we're away?
お泊まりですか？
No, the signal's fine. I could hear you the first time. No need to repeat the question 20 decibels louder.
何？今お泊まりって言った？言ったわよね。どういうこと？ホテルに泊まるの？
Michiru, we are not at a hotel.
そんでゴム使い切るまで帰ってこないってこと？そうなの？そうなんだ。けだもの、ユージ。あんたけだものよ。
Michiru, don't tempt me, woman! That'd be insane. See, now look what you've done. That noisy blonde's in full squawk.
すみません。少々お待ちいただけますか？
Just smacks fucking Michiru upside the head. Not a problem, I guess. Ooh. Oh, well, she dead. Huh? Sachi, what was that sound?
すみません、風見さん。少しみちる様には落ち着きを取り戻していただきましたので、何も問題はありません。
She just straight up smashed a vase over Michiru's head. Sorry for the hassle.
それで、ザリガニの世話とリンゴの苗ですね。
That's right. We should be back tomorrow afternoon, so I doubt it'll be a problem, but I'd appreciate it if you just keep an eye on them.
かしこまりました。すべてはこの私にお任せください。風見さんは安心して焦らずゆっくりとお気をつけてお戻りください。
Thanks. I'll make sure to bring you some Hoto and black honey rice cakes as a souvenir.
はい。それで、
What's up?
差し出がましいことを申すようで気が引けるのですが、否認だけはご注意をいただければと。
We have literally no plans for that. Not to worry. I picked up a 24-pack of rubbers on the way over. It's a joke. Don't clam up on me.
はい。25回目に気をつけてください。
I'm telling you, it was a joke. I'm not gonna do anything. In the first place, Makina's sleeping, remember?
寝ているところをつぶりと
Oh, I mean, that's... you're really determined about this, aren't you?
冗談です。風見流ジョークですね。
I can't handle my own style of humor. I'm gonna hang up now.
はい。では、お帰りを心からお待ちしております。おやすみなさいませ。
Good night. What's going on with that girl? I feel like there's a lot of venom in her tongue lately, and her problem solving is definitely getting a little on the violent side. Amane and Michiru seem to think it's entirely my fault, but I don't remember giving Sachi any orders to act like this. In fact, I make every effort to give her only strictly appropriate instructions. But come to think of it, there was that one incident the other day. I was telling Makina another one of my stories and paused to note the most efficient ways to help a panicked officer cadet regain presence of mind in a foxhole. Sachi, who'd been listening in, nodded with deep conviction and commented, I see. In other words, blunt weapons are the best medicine for derangement. Surely unrelated. Just another example of the female needed to blame every problem on a man. This sort of unfounded generalizing is probably exactly the kind of thing that turns women against us. But it helps me regain the necessary composure to make it my second call. I choose Amane's number and return the phone to my ear. A completely unfamiliar woman's voice answers the phone.
はい、もしもし。誰？
Who the hell are you supposed to be? That's how you fucking answer? I pull the phone away from my ear and double check the screen. I'm definitely connected to the number marked Suo Amane.
うわ、怖っ。なんや、めっさ怒ってはるけど、どないしょ。
Amane's probably like, oh, I know who that is.
ああ、ちょっとやめてよ。それ私の携帯じゃない。返して。ごめんね、彼氏。今、アマネに返すから。もしもし？誰？ユージ？
She already knew. She already knew. Yeah, it's me. Who the hell's that woman? Is she on morphine?
ああ、ごめん。私今こっちの友達とカラオケに来ててさ、男の名前から電話がかかってきたからいたずらしたみたい。
God, and I did not leave a good impression. Not that we care. You people aren't dabbling in hard drugs, are you?
するわけないでしょ。っていうか何？電話なんかしてきて珍しい。どうしたの？何かあった？ユージ、愛してる。
Shut up, woman!
もううるさい。静かにしてってば。
I'll just call you later. Amane, my friend, I prescribe a dose of blunt weaponry to the head.
は？何言ってんの？ちょっと待って、今部屋出るから。
I'll see why are you at karaoke this late. On the other side of the line, I hear the sound of Amane opening a door and the chorus of shrill voices shooting at her.
ごめん、お待たせ。どうしたの？急に私の声が聞きたくなったとか？
Ha! Far from it, woman. Yeah, that's right. I just had to hear that voice of yours, so I couldn't help but giving you a call. Did I make a nuisance of myself?
そんなことないけど。
Didn't expect that one. I see. Alright then, enough joking around. Let's get to the main topic. Here's the thing, Amane. Makina and I are currently in Yamanashi.
はい？なんで山梨？あ、そっか。お墓参り？
Precisely. That's right. Came up with the idea pretty suddenly after we saw you off this morning. I borrowed your Babataro for the trip.
あ、ボバ太郎ちゃんと動いた？
You're just as surprised as we were. Yeah, you've been having trouble with the engine suddenly dying on you at random times, right? The CDI is probably an issue.
CDI って言われても私にはわかんないけど。
You're riding a hot rod and you don't even know that much.
だって改造したの私じゃないもの。っていうか、あの状態でバイク屋さんから買ったのよ。
Was it at a super cheap deal? What kind of store would sell a ridiculous lowrider like that?
16の時に免許取って、なんかいいのないかなって近所のバイク屋さんに行ったら、 ちょうどそのお店の店員さんが大型に乗り換えるって話でね。前に乗ってたやつを安く売ってくれるって言うから、何も考えないで買っちゃったのよね。
God damn it. She didn't even think it over.
でもまあ、原因が分かってよかったわ。なんか信号待ちしてる時とか、突然ストンと止まっちゃって、30分ぐらい冷まさないとエンジンがかかんないから困ってたのよ。
Working inside the CDI is probably swelling from the heat, disconnecting it temporarily.
なるほどね。修理したらいくらぐらいかかるのかな。
I'm not a motorcycle mechanic. I can't tell you that much.
いいわ。ボバ太郎は貸してあげるから、気をつけて乗るのよ。
Yeah, understood. I won't do anything stupid.
マキナはどうしてるの？ちゃんとご飯食べてる？
As properly as she can, yes. Well, let's see. For lunch we had cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread Makina baked. Dinner was ramen and fried
ち
rice.
ょっと、全然野菜を食べてないじゃない。約束と違うじゃないのよ。
Oh my god, woman, it's just one day! Sorry, I'll make sure to feed her something green tomorrow.
き
God.
っとよ。なんか不安だな。朝昼晩とちゃんと食べさせて、夜の8時以降は何も食べさせちゃダメよ。
What, is she some kind of magical gremlin? Whatever, I'll be careful. If anything does come up, you'll be the first to know.
わかった。それじゃあ気をつけて帰るのよ。マキナに怪我させないでね。
Understood. Alright then, good night.
おやすみ。ちゃんと私の夢を見るのよ。
Yeah, sure. I'll get right on that. Spare me. I got enough lectures in my waking hours. For some reason, my dreams are always nightmares. Alright then, that just leaves... I scroll down to JB's name on my phone's contact list and press the call button. I have to say, though, I'm a man of many callers. The trip itinerary I submitted to JB earlier didn't include any reference to staying the night away from my post. I'm sure they're aware that I'm still in Yamanashi from tracking the GPS on my other cell phone, but that doesn't mean I that doesn't mean I can get away with completely blowing off the formalities. Even if I do get in touch, it's easy to picture that shaggy-headed blonde gripping and scolding at me again. But if I take the initiative to call instead of making her do it, the voltage of her lightning bolt should decrease slightly.
ただいま電話に出ることができません。ピーという発信音の後にお名前とご用件をお話しください。
What's this? You burning the midnight oil over there? Kazama Yuji, occupation student, and Arisu Makina, occupation derphead. Status normal. My current location is Asuko's cabin in Yamanashi. Scheduled to return and post by 1200 hours tomorrow. And a message. After recording this extremely concise summary of the necessary information, I'm just on the verge of hanging up when I reflexively hesitate. After a moment of pause, I return the receiver to my mouth once more. Night, Julia. The hour being what it is, recording a little extra in the way of pleasantries shouldn't cause any issues. My message complete, I hang up and finally snap the phone shut. As I slide the cell phone back into my pocket, a sigh spills unprompted out of my mouth. In the isolated mountain night, the only sounds are the rustling of trees in the wind and the chirping of insects reveling reveling in the summer. Rip. I don't mind not hearing people or their machines in the least, but the bugs are fairly noisy in their own right. That said, it just makes you feel anxious when things get too quiet. Human beings are pretty hard to please. Hearing nothing but the sounds that you make yourself is a genuinely terrifying thing. There was a time, years ago, when I woke up half buried under a pile of soil and sand, unable to remember how I came to be there. I must have lain there for a good 33 minutes, racking my brain before finally realizing that a field artillery shell had landed nearby. Pushed away violently by the man behind me, I'd fallen roughly into a foxhole as dirt rained down. When I crawled up out of the hole, I noticed that my eardrums were malfunctioning badly. I couldn't hear a thing other than a high-pitched ringing noise. It was the middle of the night, so my field of vision was just as poor. The small slivers of moonlight trickling through the trees above weren't enough to make out any movement around me. The fear that had been swirling around my gut became a cold dread creeping slowly up my spine. Burp, it felt like I might be the only person on Earth, as if I'd been left behind on a dead and empty husk of a world. A night can be very dark sometimes. When I'm facing it alone, I always remember that moment. Asako. Looking up to the sky, I hear her name slip out of my mouth. Just how long am I planning to drag her memory around like a ball and chain? It's not like Asako wanted that herself. She told me flat out, didn't she? If I die, forget about me within a year. It's been a year and a half. I should have forgotten her completely by now. I promised I would. But it's hard, Asako. Being alone. Aw. Stop sniveling and grow a pair. You have someone to protect yourself now, don't you? I can almost hear the words, feel the slap upside my head. But she's no longer here to deliver them. Oh. Oh, wait, what? Are we already back? Like, we're not even gonna have the trip back? Oh, fuck. I guess not. Well, God, the tears were falling, man. I'm not even kidding. I can't lie about something like that. And you heard it in my voice, too. And my constant snifflings and my, everything.